Hi everyone, this is Terry Aldebert. It's just about a minute to 1, so I guess we'll just give it a start. Others will join us probably as we continue through the webinar. I wanted to thank you all for joining. This is only my third webinar, so you'll have to be patient with me if it's a little bit kludgy. For those of you who may have joined early, you might have heard an echo. If you do hear an echo, can you just let me know by sending me a little note through your question function on your webinar your dashboard, and we'll see if we can do something about that. But I think we got everything all worked out. So today we're going to talk about the certificate in business analysis. What we're going to talk about is we're going to talk a bit about being a BA. Then we'll talk a bit about getting certified as a BA. We'll talk a bit about the industry in general, and then in the end I'll tell you a bit about our certificate, Procept Certificate, where it's offered, what we teach, how it's in line with the VA BOK, that type of information. And I guess I'll start by telling you a bit about myself. So as I said, I'm Terry Aldebert, and I've been a BA for about 9 years. I started as a BA in 2000. I've worked in banking, nonprofit, and public service. And I started out in the business when I was in banking. I worked for the telephone banking center, and I was borrowed onto a project, and that's how I became a BA. So I've been an instructor with Procept since June 2007, and I wrote my CPAP in April 2007. So it's been almost 2 years that I've been a CPAP. Now I'm the primary instructor on the certificate, but there will be other instructors as well. But if you have any questions about the certificate after the webinar, you can let me know and I can do my best to answer them. So that's a bit about me. So here's our agenda. We're going to talk a bit about Procept. Of course, I'll just tell you about the organization and what we do. Then I'll tell you about the IIBA, the International Institute of Business Analysis, and the Certified Business Analysis Professional designation. So we'll just spend about 10 minutes on that. Then we'll talk a bit about a career as a business analyst, what you might do, what you might be called, the types of documentation you might create, the types of analysis you might do, and we'll talk about the knowledge areas of the BA BOK and link that to what we do as a BA, what kind of tools and techniques in the BA BOK that you might use to do the work you do as a BA. And then finally, we'll talk about the certificate in business analysis. We'll tell you about our courses and how they might help you to gain that knowledge to do your job a little bit more efficiently. So also, I guess before we start, I'll do a little housekeeping. So the presentation itself should be between 30 and 45 minutes, so we'll probably be done around 1:45. And we'll save the last 15 minutes for any questions you have, so please feel free to pop in with a question if you have one. What I'll do is I'll answer questions that you have throughout the presentation if they make sense to interject with them. Anything that I don't answer during the presentation, I'll answer after the presentation is over. And for anything we don't get to, we'll be sure to provide answers to your questions if you send them. Now, you can use the question function on your dashboard to send your questions along. And like I said, I'll try to get to all of them before the end. So what's Procept Associates? That's first. We'll tell you about us. We're a training provider and a consulting company. So we specialize in 4 things: project management, business analysis, IT service management, and business continuity management. Those are our 4 specialties. We do training mostly, and we also do strategic consulting. So what we try to do is we go into a business and we help the organization mature in those areas, and basically we do this to try to help them become efficient in these areas and to become experts really on themselves. So one of the great things about Procept is that we're an education provider that's been approved by each of the organizations that hold knowledge that we teach. So for instance, we're a PMI registered education provider, so all of our PMP or project management courses are endorsed by the PMI. We're an endorsed education provider through the IIBA, and we're accredited education provider through the ISEB. So all of our courses have been approved by these bodies. With our training programs, we partner with 4 universities across Canada. So that's Simon Fraser, University of Calgary, University of Waterloo, and Dalhousie. We also provide courses through 2 colleges, which is CCNB and Holland College out east. And we also, besides our partnership with our 4 universities, we also provide public courses in Toronto, and we provide in-house and customized training to companies that ask us to come in and train their staff. So when we're doing training, we also provide learning assessments and needs analysis. We do pre and post course assessments to make sure that what you wanted to learn, you did learn. We check to see what your familiarity or comfort level is with material, material before and after the training. We also help with coaching and refreshing sessions. So we can help to make sure that all of the learning objectives that you wanted to achieve were achieved through the training that we provided. And these are some of our clients. You can see that there's a large number of people that we've been involved with. And it's a pretty big range of industries. You can see that there's some technology companies, there's a couple of retail organizations, the government, also Ontario Power Generation, and INCO. We have a diverse client group, and we're able to tailor our training so that it makes sense for each of these types of organizations. So that's a little bit about Procept. And now I'll just tell you a bit about the IIBA and the CPAP. So the IIBA was formed in 2003, and it had 28 founding members. It now has over 7,600 members, and it encompasses, or it's within 40 countries worldwide. And there are also 80 chapters globally, and I'll tell you a bit more about the chapters in a minute. The IIBA has put out the Guide to the Business Analysis Body of Knowledge, and it has in it all of the accepted practices, or most of the accepted practices within business analysis. Now, it's not everything, but it's a great resource for BAs. If you are responsible for requirements management or systems analysis, business analysis, or requirements analysis, even if you're just a project manager, if you're involved with projects or requirements, the IIBA's framework can help you do your job better. I mean, the bottom line is it's a great resource for BAs. Now, if you want more information on the IIBA, there's the website there at the bottom. But there's a couple of things I wanted to tell you about a couple of benefits I wanted to tell you about if you join the IIBA. There are the IIBA provides a great resource, not just the BA block, but also other features on their website or through their membership. You get access to job boards. There's a really great discussion board that they just brought out where you can ask questions about different business analysis tasks or tools that you might have questions about. You can post them, and they have very experienced BAs who monitor the discussion boards and give you answers or some coaching on how to use certain tools and techniques that you ask about. So that's really great. The other thing that I really like about the IIBA is that they hold fairly frequently webinars, and if you're a member, they're free. And the topics that they cover are absolutely amazing. I really, really enjoy them. I attended one last year, or actually earlier this year, on Agile business analysis, and it was an excellent overview of Agile and what a business analyst would do in an Agile environment. So that was a really great webinar. And then recently there were a couple of other ones on stakeholder analysis and on business process modeling. The stakeholder analysis webinar was fantastic, and the business process modeling webinar was also very good. It gave a high-level overview of business process modeling and really left me wanting more. So even just for that benefit alone, it's a really good value to join the IIBA and become a member. So the other thing that they provide, and I mentioned here, it's over 80 chapters in Canada or in the world. If you join a chapter, You can also take advantage of the benefits that they provide, things like study groups or chapter events. There's parties and information sessions. It's a really great place to network with your fellow BAs. And I have to say that that's especially important in smaller cities because the community is so small. It's kind of nice to know your fellow professionals. So I would really encourage you to join the local chapter if you have an opportunity as well. I'm not sure about the cost, but it's not much. So that's the IIBA. And then the CPAP is the certification that the IIBA provides. It's only been provided to 600, maybe close to 600 individuals now, and it is starting to become a very recognized designation in the industry. I remember when I first started at Procept and I was doing my CPAP exam, I would review job postings to see how common it was for industry to ask for this designation, and it wasn't very common. Now it's much more common. I see it on many more postings now, and I think that it's just going to keep getting more recognized as time goes on. It's still very new. But basically, a few of the quick facts about the CPAP is that the certification, you don't have to be a member of the IIBA in order to write your certification, although we'll talk later, the exam fee is a little less. And right now it's only offered in English, but there are sort of suggestions to provide it in different languages in the future. So if you're interested in becoming a CPAP, this is what you would need. Oop, let me just go back, sorry about that. One of the things that you need is work experience. You need to have 7,500 hours of business analysis work experience in the last 10 years. And you also need to be able to prove that you have expertise in 4 of the 6 knowledge areas. And that equates to approximately 900 hours of work. There's an educational requirement where you have to have at least high school education. And unlike the PMP, there's no reduction for work experience for post-secondary, if you have a post-secondary degree. There's no reduction in the amount of work experience that you need to have. There's a professional development requirement. You have to have 21 hours of professional development in the last 4 years. And there's a number of things that apply to, that you can apply to your professional development hours, but our courses count towards these hours definitely. Now the last thing that you need is 2 references from a career manager, client, or a CPAP. These can't be from a project manager unless that project manager was also your career manager. It has to be the person who was responsible for your development. So that's a really important thing, and I remember when I was doing my CPAP application I was really struggling because I thought that the project managers were mostly the people who would know how well I did business analysis, but I had to find a couple of career managers. And this is the process. So I don't know about you guys, but as a BA, I always think in process. So we'll just go through this. The first thing at 1.0 is you establish your own eligibility. So you look at the previous slide, you assess yourself to see if you have these requirements, if you meet these requirements, and if you do, then you complete your application. If you don't, you might wait until you actually are eligible, and then you'll go through the process. So you'll complete your application, which is now available online. There might also be a paper application still, but there definitely is an online application now. And then after you complete your application, you send it in, and the IIBA will determine whether you're approved. They'll assess your application and determine if you're eligible to write the exam. So if you are approved, then you want to submit your exam fee. Now the exam fee is $325 US for IIBA members and $450 for non-members. So you submit your application or your exam form and your fee, where you select the date that you're going to write your exam and you pay your fee, and then you write your exam. And once you write your exam, you'll be notified whether you passed or failed. If you passed, then you get your card and you are only responsible to recertify when your designation is up for recertification, which I believe is 3 years. If you don't pass, if it's your first failure, you are able to rewrite the test again. Now the rewrite fee is a little bit less. It's $250 for IIBA members and $375 for non-members. But you have to rewrite within a year of your original application date, and you must wait at least 3 months from the last exam. So there's a few rules in there. So that's the process. Now, if you fail twice, I think you have to go back and apply again. You have to go through the entire process again. And if you fail the second test, then you also have to start over again. So that's the application process or the certification process. If you don't have your CPAP, you may still be working as a BA, and I would say probably that's the case in the majority of the situations, that you aren't certified, but you are working as a BA, and obviously with 7,500 hours being required to become certified, there are many BAs who are working towards that and aren't certified yet. And these are some statistics that we found. So business analysis is among the top 20 most recession-proof professions according to JobFox. And the IT business analyst is said to be the 7th best job in America, and that there's an enormous amount of growth that we're thinking is going to happen, or that's going to happen in the next 10 years. So that's really makes me feel good that I'm in the right job. Here's something else. Certified professionals can earn 10 to 15% more than non-certified counterparts. And the CIO magazine says that business analyst is one of the most in-demand and hottest jobs. So that's good too. The last thing I find really interesting, and you can find a copy of this, the IIBA salary survey on their website. There were 2 surveys done, one by the U.S. Department of Labor and one by the IIBA. And they found that business analysts can actually earn a fairly large salary, over $100,000 per year if they're experienced and if they're certified, and they have a lot of, if they have diverse skills. So that's really excellent. The other thing I wanted to add is that from the courses that we hold in the public or in the universities, we found that there are BAs in almost every industry. They're in healthcare and they're in oil and gas. We have a lot of oil and gas BAs, especially when we teach out west. They're in technology, definitely. A lot of BAs work in the technology industry. We've found BAs in education and in nonprofit, not just healthcare nonprofit, but also regulatory nonprofit and other nonprofit organizations. There's a large number of BAs in banking and insurance, of course, and BAs are starting to become much more common in government and agencies as well. So if you work as a VA, you can pretty much work in any industry that you're interested in or any industry that you have skills in. So that's really, really excellent. So most of you probably know this. I bet you most people on here either work with a BA or are a BA themselves. But what is business analysis? Well, business analysis is identifying the needs of your clients and the stakeholders to help determine what solutions are going to resolve problems that have brought up or take advantage of opportunities that come up. So normally BAs focus on the what, not the how. And this can sometimes be really hard because we're supposed to try to be solution neutral when we're collecting requirements, and we all know that that doesn't always happen, that there is a chance that there are certain constraints in place that make us think about the how things are going to happen. But what we really need to do is try to be solution neutral while we're collecting requirements. One of the things that the business analyst is a key facilitator within the organization. We really act as a bridge between the client, the stakeholders, and the solution team. We're like I always make this joke in our university courses, we're like the translator. We need to make sure that both of our stakeholder teams, the client and the solution, or the business and the solution team, are speaking the same language, and we sort of act as that facilitator between the two. So that's in general what BAs do. And now I'm just going to talk a bit about the knowledge areas within the BA block, and then we'll talk about how they fit in. So the first thing is enterprise analysis. This is a knowledge area that talks about defining the business need. Usually the activities that are done that are covered in the enterprise analysis knowledge area are pre-project activities like the business case. And what this does is it provides high-level scope. So in using these tools and techniques can help you to define high-level scope, make sure that you have a really, really compelling business case, and that you've spent enough time on the business need that you really understand what the need is, and it's not just the symptom restated in another way. The business analyst, by using these tools and techniques, will ensure that all of the requirements or the business case, everything you produce is aligned with the strategic goals of the organization and is also aligned with the technical framework. So those are the two things that we do within enterprise analysis, is we can ensure that these things are aligned. The next knowledge area is planning and monitoring. And using these tools and techniques, we would using these tools and techniques, we plan our work and we monitor to make sure that we're achieving what we want to achieve that we laid out in our plan. So we identify stakeholders, we plan how we're going to collect our requirements, how we're going to document our requirements, we think about risks, how we're going to control quality, and we put all of that into our business analysis plan. And then we think about how we're going to monitor that progress, of how we're going to monitor how we're progressing through that plan. So what we say is that our business analysis plan is often an input to the project plan by the project managers. The project manager will take will take the business analysis plan and make it a piece of their project plan. And the other thing that our business analysis plan helps is that if we have more than one BA working on a project, it helps us to coordinate the activities, not just within the team, but also if we have other resources outside of the team that we're using. Our business analysis plan can help us with that. The next one is elicitation, and I'm sure that a lot of BAs do this. I remember when I was at the bank especially, but also at when I was with public service, when I was working in public service, this was the majority of my job. Now, before I go into the points on the slide, this used to be called gathering, but I personally felt that gathering didn't really reflect the amount of work that was involved with these tasks that we would complete. And gathering sort of sounds like we're skipping around the office collecting up the requirements as they lay in the aisles, between the cubicles, but that's not really what we do. We really have to spend time drawing out the requirements from people, developing requirements from statements that are made from different stakeholders. So I really like the fact that the IIBA changed this to elicitation, because I really feel it reflects the difficulty and the skill that's needed to elicit or to gather the requirements from stakeholders. So basically, elicitation is about executing your business analysis plan and actually collecting the requirements and developing them into really good quality requirements, into models, into documentation that will be used by the stakeholders. And what the business analyst will do is document them in an appropriate format based on your organization, the audience, how they're going to be used, and will also confirm all the information that was gathered. So we might have a structured walkthrough or a requirements presentation. We'll do all of these things to make sure that what we captured and what we molded into a model or into a document, it actually reflects and helps to resolve the problem that we initially thought we had in the business. So it's a big piece of work, and I would say personally it was probably 70% of the work I did, maybe 60% of the work I did as a BA. So the next knowledge area is management and communication. And management and communication are some of the softer things that we do. We want to make sure it's ongoing and iterative, so it's throughout the whole project we'll manage and communicate requirements, and it's usually in parallel with planning, enterprise analysis, and requirements analysis. These are the tools and techniques we would use to manage communications, issues, change, and conflict. So we all know that there's always conflict that comes up in an organization, especially in a project. There are two different stakeholders whose requirements are diametrically opposed. Issues come up. Someone can't meet their deadlines. They're not. Our requirements weren't captured detailed enough. Things come up. So using these tools and techniques will help us to manage those things, manage the communication, manage the issues, manage any conflict. So during these tools and techniques, the business analyst might use them to manage the approvals of documentation, also to plan or to track versions of the documents, because we all know version control is very important. And also, this is the knowledge area that talks about traceability and talks about how you might trace your requirements throughout the project to ensure that ultimately they wind up in the solution and they do help the business to achieve what they wanted to achieve with the project. We have requirements analysis, which is where we progressively elaborate on requirements. What I mean by that is that we would take what we have captured and look at them in a critical fashion to make sure that they really, really define what we're trying to do. So they're complete enough to be used by our stakeholders, by our solutions team. There are no contradictory requirements, that they really state the need in a clear fashion. And it might happen while you're eliciting your requirements, so you might do analysis throughout the whole project, but you also might schedule a very specific time for analysis when you've pretty much you've pretty much completed the documentation of your requirements, you're comfortable with how much information you've captured and the models you've built and the documentation you've created, and you might spend a bit of time just looking through everything to make sure that they really do meet the needs of the business. The last knowledge area is solution assessment and validation. That is, with the tools and techniques in this knowledge area, we would assess proposed solutions. We might identify the best solution. What I mean by that is if we provide our requirements to a solution team and they come up with 2 or 3 or 4 different options to meet the need, we want to look at those solutions and critically analyze the different options that we were provided to help to identify the best solution. This is the knowledge area that can help you with that. We also, with these tools, can document gaps and workarounds and customization requirements. If it's a solution that we're buying off the shelf or if it's a vendor that we're engaging to build our solution, we can also document things like that. The other thing that we talk about in this, that's talked about in this knowledge area, is data conversion and transitional requirements. So transitional requirements are any temporary requirements that are necessary to ensure that the solution is accepted by the business. And it helps to ensure that there's a smooth transition between the old environment and the new environment. Now, another thing that a BA might do, and where they might use the techniques in this knowledge area, is to assess the solution after implementation to make sure that what we thought we would achieve, what we said we would achieve in the business case, was actually realized later in the business. And that might happen right after implementation. It could happen 6 months after implementation. It could happen a year. It could happen some other time in the future. But these tools in this knowledge, the tools in this knowledge area would help you to do that assessment after the business case was, to ensure that we met what we said we would in the business case. So those are all the knowledge areas. There's 6. And the knowledge areas are supported by the underlying competencies. So this is a pretty small writing on this slide, but you can see that there are a bunch of competencies that BAs have to have that help to support the work we do within those knowledge areas. So you can see under the analytical thinking and problem solving section here, we need to be a creative thinker because we need to be able to say, wow, here's a really good idea on how to solve a problem that we have. We need to have good decision-making skills. We need to be able to learn fast. We need to have really good problem-solving skills, and we have to be able to think systems, because a lot of times now we work in the context of system development. We have to have really some of these more ethical or behavioral characteristics. We have to have good organizational skills. We have to be trustworthy. We have to have business knowledge. We have to have really good communication skills. I'm sure you all know, have experienced that. We have to have good oral communication skills because we're presenting things to our stakeholders. We have to have excellent written communication skills because we have to write all of our requirements down. We have to have negotiation skills, leadership. We have to be able to work on teams. And we also have to have experience or competency with different software applications, not just the solution, but There are requirement management softwares now. We document our requirements sometimes in the Microsoft's Office suite of products. We have to have those types of skills as well. And these are all the underlying competencies according to the IIBA. This is how it all fits together. So we covered all of the knowledge areas. You can see elicitation on the left, business analysis and planning and monitoring over the top. Enterprise analysis, requirements analysis, and solution assessment and validation is a loop-de-loop there in the center. And all of the underlying competencies support those knowledge areas or the tasks that you might complete within those knowledge areas. Here is the solution development lifecycle and where we might create some of our documentation. So as BAs, we usually work on a project or in the context of a solution being developed. And this is where some of our documentation or output might come in. So you can see here on the first line is the BA approach. We might create or think about our approach. How are we going to tackle this project? And that would probably be done really early on. We also might create roles and responsibilities matrices or stakeholder lists to list all of the people we need to talk to, who's responsible for all the different things that need to be done in the project. We might create our plan, which we would probably create really early on, and we might update as time goes on or monitor as we go along. We might create a requirements management plan or a requirements change management plan, which we would monitor throughout. Here's the business case, would probably be done in conception, as well as the business needs assessment. We'd do that very early on. And one of the other things I want to touch on here is the traceability matrix, which is the second from the bottom line. That is really important, something that we would do when we collect our requirements. We want to trace them through the life of the project to make sure that they wind up in the solution, and then match them back to make sure that the solution actually helped to achieve the objectives that were laid out at the beginning of the project. That's another really important thing. But as you can see, most of our work sort of falls in the early stages of a project. We might, as time goes on in a project, act more as a consultant, where we answer questions, help to resolve conflict, help to clarify things, but a lot of our output is done early in a project. So that sort of brings us to the end of the information on business analysis in general. I'm going to talk now about the certificate that we offer, and I'll just link it back to what we've covered so far. So this is the certificate that's offered at different universities, and publicly in Toronto. So there's Comprehensive Business Analysis Part 1, which is 4 days, and then the second half of this course is another 4 days. The last one is Enterprise and Strategic Analysis, which is 3 days. So in Comprehensive Part 1, we cover the planning and monitoring and management and communication knowledge areas. In Comprehensive Part 2, we cover the elicitation and analysis knowledge areas, and in Enterprise and Strategic Analysis, we talk about enterprise analysis and solution assessment and validation. So we cover the whole BA block basically, and I'll just go over each of those core courses on the next couple of slides. The first one is Business Analysis Part 1. So what we do is we talk this is when we spend a bit of time just talking about business analysis in general, requirements in general, what a BA does, how a BA fits into projects, how BAs might work in an organization. So we talk about all of that. Then we also talk about communication. As I mentioned on the underlying competency slide, communication is a very important part of our job, and we spend probably a full day in this course on communication, facilitation skills, writing skills, oral communication. We cover it all because that's the basis of our job, and I don't know if you can ever be perfect at communication, so that's really important. We also talk about stakeholder analysis and the communication strategy in this course. We develop a stakeholder analysis. We develop a communication strategy. We basically create these things on a case study that we do in the course. We talk about requirements management or requirements change management, and then we basically write up our business analysis plan. We do all of the risk analysis, quality, we decide how we're going to manage quality, we do a schedule, we think about our approach, we talk about the different approaches that you can use in an organization to manage a project. So we do all of that and we create a plan. And the way that this, the courses are sort of laid out is that we practice each of the concepts together as a class, and then we split into groups or teams where we complete each of the concepts again or cover each of the concepts again as a team and create some of the output that's required. And we do that by using case studies. So there are 3 case studies that participants can select from in our courses, and they're 3 different industries, 3 different types of projects, and basically the team can get together, decide which case study they want to use, and then they apply the concepts to the case study at each stage of the course. And at the end, the teams provide a presentation of their business analysis plan, how they would attack this project, and it's good because they get to practice presentation skills as well as all of the business analysis skills that we learn in the class. So that's comprehensive part 1. Comprehensive part 2 is more of the elicitation and documentation and analysis knowledge areas. So we cover all the different analysis techniques and the documentation techniques. We talk about requirements prioritization, requirements analysis, and our big exercise in this course is building a requirements package. So it's very similar to comprehensive part 1. We go over each concept as a class, we practice it once as a class, and then we break into our groups. We select, each team or group selects which case study they're going to use, and they can select a different case study from comprehensive part 1. And we build all the models, we elicit our requirements, and we present our business requirement. We do a requirements presentation at the end of class to the rest of the class. Now, in the learning objectives, you can see here on the second bullet that we talk about that we cover 8 different elicitation techniques. So those are data analysis or document analysis, interviews, surveys and questionnaires, workshops, focus groups, interface analysis, prototypes, and observation. Those are the elicitation techniques we cover. You can see here that on the third point that we actually cover 7 types of process models. Those are the SIPOC, S-I-P-O-C. We talk about the functional and cross-functional process maps. We talk about BPMN, spaghetti diagrams, activity diagrams, and data flow diagrams. So those are the different types of process models we talk about. And if you look at the 5th point, we also cover 11 documentation techniques, which are context diagrams and DFDs, use case diagrams, all the different process flows, activity diagrams, use cases, state diagrams, class and ERD diagrams, DFDs, data dictionaries, and business rules. So we talk about all of those things. This is a very elaborate course. That we cover a lot, but the greatest thing about the comprehensive business analysis seminars part 1 and 2 is that you get to practice everything. So it's a really great way to actually learn how to apply what you've learned in class. So the last course is Enterprise and Strategic Analysis, and basically in this one we cover the Enterprise Analysis knowledge area and the Solution Assessment and Validation knowledge area. You can see here that we cover understanding the business and confirming the business problem, figuring out what the scope of the problem is and what the scope of the solution will be, identifying and different options and comparing them. We write a business case. We talk about competitive analysis or benchmarking, gap analysis, and SWOT analysis. And this is again the same layout where we cover the concepts as a group. The teams apply the concepts to the case study, and there's a big presentation at the end. So this is actually my favorite course. I like 1 and 2 as well, but this one is a really great. I love learning about the business case, and I love teaching people about the business case. So that's the 3 core courses. Here's some information on where to sign up for the courses. We're holding Comprehensive Part 1 in Toronto, October 26th, 27th, 28th, and 29th, and then Part 2 the first week in December. We're holding ESA, or Enterprise and Strategic Analysis, in January 2010. If you're not in Toronto, you can contact SFU, University of Calgary, University of Waterloo, or Dalhousie to find out the dates that they have for those courses. The same courses are provided through those universities. And so just visit one of their websites and search for business analysis. If you want to get an advanced certificate in business analysis, which is what actually is offered through many of the universities, you would add electives to the 3 core courses. And the electives have to come to another 7 days. So we have analytical thinking for the business analyst, which gives you more of the data analysis and risk analysis, those types of analytical thinking skills that a business analyst needs. So in that course we talk a lot about how to analyze data, how to present data to support a certain case, how to build a hypothesis, and it's a really great course. We also cover, then there's project management for the business analyst, which gives business analysts a really basic idea or some basic project management skills, some of the things that if you're acting as a PMBA or a project manager business analyst, some of the things that you want to keep in mind if you're running the project as well as being the BA on it. And then finally, like I said, three more days of electives. We have virtual teams, which is dealing with teams when they're geographically dispersed. We have testing for the business analyst, which is for those BAs who are also involved in quality assurance testing. And then we have leadership change for those business analysts who are interested in leading teams as well. So that's the Advanced Certificate in Business Analysis. We also offer a CPAP prep course where we cover all of the information in the BA BOK in a 4-day course. This is a much more intensive course because basically we cover everything that we would normally cover in the Comprehensive Business Analysis seminars 1 and 2 in 4 days. So there is much more less practical exercises. There's no case study. There's much more memorization, going through the concepts, figuring out the different scenarios where you would use those concepts, and doing a lot of test questions, because that's a really important thing to practice before you do the CPAP exam, is you need to write as many test questions as you can. So we provide it says more than 300 questions, almost 300 questions, but I think there are actually more questions than that in the 4 days, and we do it in small bite-sized chunks. Then we do a big practice exam at the end, and then we send you home with even more so you can practice even more. And this is a 4-day course, and you can see it's running in Toronto from October 5th to 8th, and this will prepare you to write the exam. Now, we recommend that you write the exam shortly after you take the course, and there's even some opportunity to ask me more questions afterwards if you have them, and we can really talk about the exam in the course. So that's it. That is the presentation. So it is about 1:45. I am having one little issue with my dashboard, so I'm just going to fiddle around here so I can look at your questions. And if you have any, feel free to type them in now, and I will do my best to answer them. So you'll just see something on your screen that's sort of odd. Let's see if I can get this to work. Aha. Okay. So let's see if I can answer some questions here. Okay, so one question. Let's see, is there a significant difference between BA and PM? Well, yes, there is. Project managers are responsible for managing the overall project. BAs are more responsible for managing the solution scope. So there is a significant difference between BAs and PMs. Now, for more details, you could look at the PMBOK. That is the PMBOK is the guiding and contains all of the knowledge for the project management body of knowledge, and it's available on the PMI website. I'm not sure. So there's a question here that says, what sort of proof is required to show expertise? I'm not positive what it is now. When I applied for the to write the CPAP exam, I had to detail all of the projects that I worked on in great detail and all of the tasks that I completed. Now, I also believe, and you should double check this with the IIBA website, but I also believe that they may audit your application. So you have to put down contact information about who you worked with. They may contact those people and clarify that you actually did completed the task that you said you completed. So Kim, that's a great question. Let's see if there's anything else here. A copy of this presentation will be available on the Procept website afterwards, so feel free, as long with the audio. So thank you, Catherine, for that question. If I take the whole certificate, do I need to also take the CPAP prep course? That's a really good question. Now, the answer, it's a sort of I'll give you a bit of a longer answer. The bottom line is no, but I'll tell you why I think it's still a good idea. With the certificate, you cover the tools and techniques that are within the BA BOK, so you will learn everything that is in the BA BOK. With that knowledge, you can write the exam and pass. But what the CPAP prep course actually does for you is that it gives you a place to practice writing the exam over and over again. It gives you a plethora of questions to use to test yourself so that you can assess where you need to study more in order to pass the exam. So we cover all the topics and all the tasks and tools and techniques in Comprehensive Part 1, 2 and ESA, but in order to really be prepared to write the test, the CPAP prep course can give you a little bit more of that. Let me see if there's another question. I believe that, okay, so here's a question. Can project documentation be used as proof on your CPAP application? And I believe that you can use that as proof of of your background, of your expertise. Here's another question. What is needed to indicate high school graduation? Some of us have been out of high school for a very long time, I understand. I'm not sure exactly what is required. Maybe a copy of your high school certificate, but you can definitely go to the IIBA.org and they probably have a very large application guide that will say exactly the type of information that you need to provide for for all of the requirements that they have. Here's another comment that the group work in the course solidifies the principles within the BA BOK, and that is true. Within the group work that's done in the Comprehensive Part 1, 2, and Enterprise Analysis courses, we'll apply the concepts of the case study. We'll talk about the principles when we take up the case study. We'll talk about what could have been done better, how to for some of the very unique situations we encounter on projects, how to apply the principles to those types of scenarios. So yes, definitely the group work solidifies the principles. And that's all the questions that I have. So it is approximately 5:02. If there's any other questions that I didn't get to, please let me know and I'll try to answer them now. And if not, then I will let you go. I hope to see all of you in some of the courses that we provide. If you have any questions about anything, feel free to email me. I'll put my contact information back up on the screen now. You can email me about any questions that you have, and otherwise, I hope to see you.